Today we're going to be learning how to paint things like grass, trees, flowers, etc. And this is called Paint Effects. Um, I found this wonderful guide on Maya. It's their knowledge network. All I did was type in Maya Paint Effects 2019. And it basically got me there. So it's a wonderful resource for you to check out. In fact, if there's anything that you know you want to look up, check the documentation. So the first thing that it told me to do was to load up a new shelf. So you can hit this little gear next to the shelves and load shelf. You want to look for shelf underscore paint effects .mel. The .res.mel it won't load anything really. So click on this first one, hit OK, and here we go. So with these paint effects, if I click on any one of these, for instance this grass clump, I can click and drag and it's going to draw as I go. There's kind of an issue though. One is that, and let me hit Q to switch back to my regular selection tool. One is that it kind of follows this line really closely. So let's go to the grass clump and increase the brush width. If I put this up to 2, it starts like expanding, and I can keep on bringing this up to whatever I'd like. If I go back to the stroke shape grass clump, I can also increase the sample density because it's looking a little slim right now. So that is a lot thicker, a lot more flush. And on top of that, I can hit this global scale if I'd like, depending on like the size of your scene. So I'll need to jump into Arnold and add some lights. Let's just drag in a physical sky, and I'll hit the render. Nothing will show up though, so that's kind of an issue. And that's because we need to convert the paint effects to polygons. Go to Modify, Convert, Paint Effects to Polygons. Once I do that, here's my grass. You'll notice that this is actually a lot of faces. This is 100,000 faces in my scene, and it might actually take quite a while to render. I'll show you some other images that I created. By default, this is a piece of grass that I rendered. It took me 3 minutes and 47 seconds. But I just changed the material type, and it changed the color slightly, got rid of the shininess, because that's what Phong does, and it reduced it down to 2 minutes, so it cut the render time in half. And the way that I did that was just jumping into the Grass Clump 1 shader, and I know that this Phong, which is a reflective material, the reflections are causing it to bounce back and forth with the light and take a lot more time to render. So I just grabbed this Phong and changed it to a Lambert, and so even though it shows kind of gray here, it's not a big deal. It should work out just fine. So let's say that you didn't want to create grass. Let's just go ahead and make a new scene. And if you don't want grass, you can always click on this, Get Brush, and in here you have a whole lot of options for your paint effects. You have flowers, flowers mesh, a whole lot of other stuff. For me, I'm just going to stick to these flowers because they're really hard for me to paint. So let's grab some hyacinths and click and drag. Once again, these won't render unless I convert them. I'll add a Arnold light and render out an Arnold thing here. Remember, if you want to bump up the lights, just grab the dome and increase the intensity. Looks neat. One last thing I want to show you. Let's say that you have a column or a wall or something. And you want to paint something on top of it. Well, to do so, you would select your objects that you want to make paintable, click on Generate, and click on Make Paintable. So now if I want to draw something like this Vine Gray Bud brush, I could click and drag and it should follow on the actual objects that I have as best as it can. It sometimes gets a little funky, but you'll notice that now instead of drawing on the grid, it's drawing on my objects. Once again, feel free to change the size of it, the brush width of it, and the density. Select your objects. We have to convert them. Paint effects to polygons. Make sure that you add your physical sun and sky for lights, and then just render it. It's pretty cool.